Welcome to the Two Boots Word Vault podcast. This episode is a recording of poems I read as part of the Midstream Reading Series in November of 2022. Midstream has consistently provided readings for Minnesota poets. The host for this evening was the poet and musician Diane Jarvenpa.
Yes, I'm going to introduce the next reader tonight. Timothy Young's upcoming book, Threads on the Painting, will be his fifth book of poetry. Red Dragonfly Press also published portraits of radio clowns and royalty, the Palace of Kings, and herds of bears surround us. His first book, Building in Deeper Water, was introduced by Robert Bly and published by Thousands Press. His poetry has appeared in Scribner's, The Best American Poetry. For 5 years, he co-hosted KFAI's Northland Literary Review, and he received the Lake Superior Contemporary Writers Award. Dan Kavanaugh's jazz composition, Joy Soup, based on the like-titled poem, premiered at Jazz at Lincoln Center. He has been a cattle inspector, a maintenance man at Totonic Indian Clinic in Mexico, a police dispatcher in North Pole, Alaska, a longtime union activist, and he taught at the Red Wing Juvenile Correction Facility for 8 years before retiring. Please welcome Timothy Young.
Thanks, Diane. However, these three that preceded me set a high bar. When your name starts with a Y, you're always at the end. So, let's see, put my glasses away, and I really should not do that. I didn't know what to read first, and then I saw the weather report that says we're going to get some snow. I wrote this 17 years ago at this time of year. Snow has fallen. An inch or two of snow has fallen. Summer's earth-born beauties are covered. Among the nettle stalks, darkness decays the dead leaves. Isn't snow like death? No one will ever see my prickly face again. No one, maybe our curious hound, will hear me rustling, struggling with my concerns on the other side. Yet because of the snow, because of seeds and saints and accident survivors, somehow I sense the sun's warmth will return. I watch the chickadees flit from stem to dead stem. They pick at the weed seeds and sing against the cold. A chickadee warrior is the bravest of all. He defends his kin against any large thing. He is steadfast, courageous, and in the worst winter he won't flee. Gray, white, and black. He's beauty with only 3 tones of color. Joyous, he sings and dances when the slightest streak of dawn cracks open. He's social, and he chirps while snowflakes drop slowly, beautifully, and easily. Even in a blizzard, he finds a refuge. He tucks himself in and waits for what is impossible to defy to pass. I've watched the gray day arrive out of the black dawn. Snow begins again. The lawn is white. The sky is white. And if it weren't for the gray trees and the chickadees, I wouldn't know where earth stops and the sky begins. I want to read from my upcoming book, Threads Threads on the Painting. I wrote this not with the original intention of having it published. I wrote these poems so that my grandchildren, when they get old enough, might know who their grandpa really was, and not just grandpa. I'll be long dead by the time they're old enough I can explain all the things that I've gone through. I lived in Mexico for a while, and it was good to hear all about the Day of the Dead. And in 1977, on the Day of the Dead, I was in Mexico. That was the night I was working at a clinic, and the Jefe's son came in with a bullet into the chest. I was a maintenance man, so I just was a helper. This starts with being down in Mexico. But I want to explain a little bit about this first. When I started writing these, I needed a prompt. And I came upon the book Helga Paintings. It was published back in the late 80s. Andrew Wyeth's scandalous book, supposedly, about all the nudes that he painted and his wife knew nothing about. My first wife at the time was an artist, and she hired models for life drawing. And so I bought her the book back in the 80s. She loved it. When I was looking for a prompt at a used bookstore a few years ago, this book just kind of popped out. So I used the paintings by Andrew Wyeth as my prompt. And I got so involved, I then went to his father, the illustrator N.C. Wyeth, and did a whole series of poems there. And after that, I still didn't want to quit, so I went to a book that was about the cave paintings in Lascaux. And then after that, I ended up with the landscape paintings from the American Sublime painters. I spent 6 months doing this, and I just couldn't stop. So I'll just read a few of the poems from this book. And it's called Threads of Paintings, and I want you to remember that the threads are coming from inside of me, but imagine the threads and the comments, like in Facebook, all the comments down. So each stanza is a different thread. This is the poem, The Coexistence of Sorrow and Joy. And the prompt was the painting The Prussian, a picture of Helga, named a Prussian. The young Prussian doctor desperately yearned for relevance. He walked swiftly through the Puebla Mountain Clinic, like a lamppost on the move, ready to impose his brilliance. He arrived from Hamburg with his willful compassion to heal Indians. His father said his eye-hand dexterity surpassed the average man's. He wanted to try his hand in the wild before returning to civilized Europe. Once, he gently removed a cataract from a Totonacs eye. The woman refused to cry. Her will arrived, but her whimpers were cached in the palm thatch of her smoky Papantla hut. Helga's eye is so real that her texture and lashes could be my mother's. When overwhelmed, Mom retreated to her room, rocked and wept until she could deal with her children and her 9-year-old's death. Grief filled our days at the clinic. Also, it buoyed our joy when a child recovered or when a man who limped 10 miles on an axe-hacked leg could walk home, eyes up and smiling. Helga is almost smiling, isn't she, Timothy? This painting tells you, as do your slides of beautiful Totonac women, that behind her eye is a resistance, a persistence, and the coexistence of sorrow and joy. I took this form, I adapted the ghazal form that Hafez used, and Hafez always put his name at the end. They didn't sign their poetry back in that day, but I like that idea. It's also addressing one part of myself from another part of myself. Here's another one. This is from my wife, Dallas. And the painting was called simply The Nudes, but the poem is titled, Every Morning We Compare Dreams. 2 nights ago, I stepped over a long anaconda. It was sated and safe after swallowing styrofoam trash. Every morning we compared dreams. In her dream, my wife had a tattooed body as she fearlessly beheaded cobras. Neither a dream nor a painter's nude can be completely known. Every pose provides endless ways to understand nakedness, its allure, and the noose that threatens your attention. Mystery never ends. A dream book from the drawer can provide insight to imagery, but the disease of reading eats at the membrane of the dream until each bit of color and form dissolves in a sea of forgetfulness. This morning, Timothy, you were invited into a dark room by a young woman in a blue-black dress. As you touched her, your wife's knee woke you. In her dream, she saw something else. There was a painting called Lovers. I'm reading poems from the Andrew Wyeth section of my book, not from the others. And this poem is called Sitting Bull Loved His People. Wyeth's picture, Lovers, makes me think of my wife back home and so much more. When I left Seattle, my granddaughter kissed her hand and threw me a kiss with a wide arching arm. As I left my son, we said goodbye with bear hugs. When he was 6 years old, I let him sit on my lap and steer the pickup down the 2-lane highway that passes the Little Bighorn battleground. Sitting Bull loved his people too. At that frantic council before the battle, he walked in, bare-assed and backwards. Sitting Bull was a Heoka. That's the reference here. He walked in bare-assed and backwards. Everything cracked. Love, imprudence re-entered, and his people knew that they could bear the fight. As I approached the Black Hills, the white ground, the black pine, and the blue sky pulled at my heart the way a woman pulls at taffy. I stretched my ride and detoured to Devil's Tower, the bear's house. The land rolled in melting snow like a cinnamon bear shaking off winter. My mind flew over the red stones and sprawled over the land's thighs and the tan breasts of the mysterious waking woman in the earth. Timothy, you know people who move from lover to lover. You couldn't bear that. Your deepest love is in your family. Old lovers remain in your mind because the strings of love connect all souls. Your wife knows that, so she plays music. One of the techniques that's used in many of these poems is there's at least one word that is the same in every stanza, and in that poem is the word bear. The sound bear. Bare-assed also fits that. Here's another. It's called Kiss the Heat. The painting was called Sun Shield. Some folks can't do anything to change their lives. They can't relax or kickstart action. They're like those abandoned cars in the woods. They wait for a love mechanic to tune them up and fire their spark plugs. The soul isn't a machine. Even the trees growing through the floorboards reaches for the sun. The soul must move towards something outside or inside. If not, it becomes root-bound in a shell of metallic bitterness. Have you fished from a boat with the day's beauty surrounding you and penetrating you? The way the birch reflections penetrate the pond, you hope that the fish won't bite and change the chain of infinite moments. Sunlight pours from the sky. Sunlight reflects upward to your face. Light settles in the deep water and warms the decay, the clarity, the calm fish, and the chains of insect eggs dangling from paddock leaves. In your still body, Timothy, every cell of awareness is alert and singing. It's exciting. In return, beauty magnifies itself for you. Between you and the infinite moments of beauty, gratitude is the love-making. And I want to finish this one, and I'm going to contradict what I said. This one is for Diane, the Finn. The illustration is from N.C. Wyeth's illustration of the Kalevala. The illustration is called The Magician and the Maid of Beauty. The title of this poem is The Poet Has a Duty to Praise Her. In N.C. Wyeth's painting, a reindeer pulls old Vaino's sleigh. Like Orpheus, his gifts are godlike. Like Raftery, the Irish bard and fiddler, he's chasing the maid of beauty with his bad luck. Steadfast old Wainamoinen drives his steed with a beaded whip. His bare arm points to the beauty. His white hair and flying beard could be Whitman's. His eyes are as stern as Blake's Jehovah. He's a boat builder and a magic crafter, and he can't find a wife. Ever singing sage of the Northland, ever searching Vaino. 35 years ago, I sought beauty, and she fled from me too. A man should always sing to beauty, even if she flees to her loom at the bottom of the rainbow, where she weaves silver designs into golden capes and gowns. The poet has a duty to praise her. Timothy, how lucky that you wrote a poem 35 years ago. 20 years later, it beckoned the wife you wanted. She weaves gold and silver into her songs. Wainamoinen can love her through you. Thank you.